As entrepreneurs, we're always challenged to be more creative, to be innovative, to really use the right brain part of ourselves. The challenge is most of us are left brain though. And today I have an extremely talented guest who is one of the most talented right brain people that you're ever going to meet. Sandra Joseph. Sandra is really has some tremendous fame out there for an awful lot of different things, but it's pretty likely, if you enjoy theater, that you saw her on Broadway. She was, for about 10 years, Christine in the Phantom of the Opera. I know I saw her several times. Didn't know her then, but I was blown away with the talent. Well, why would we as entrepreneurs want to bring an actor on? I got to tell you, really, Sandra is making some huge changes. Top of her success, she's now reinventing herself as an entrepreneur. And I want her to share her story because not only is there a lot of inspiration, but some tremendous lessons that we can bring in as entrepreneurs to make a huge difference.
Ordinary success? No way. You want amazing, remarkable, exceptional breakthroughs. Dig deep, think bold, drive hard, watch yourself soar beyond your dreams. AESNation.com.
Sandra Joseph, thank you for joining me today here. The magic of Skype. It's great to be together.
Great to be with you, John. Hi, everybody. I'm really happy to be speaking to your audience.
Well,
Thanks.
I want to set the stage, Sandra. I heard you on a good friend's podcast, Jimmy Harding, Game Changers, and I was jogging, through the redwoods. I live in Northern California. I was in one of the state parks, and I was listening. It was a long run of about an hour and a half, so I was listening to a couple podcasts, and it came to yours, and I was going, geez, I'm not sure I'm going to listen to it, even though I love the theater and the whole thing. And I go, what am I going to get out of this? And I was blown away with what you shared, the difference you're making in people's lives now going forward, how you're reinventing yourself. And I wanted to share it with AES Nation because these are fellow-minded, like entrepreneurs that want to make a difference. But before we go to all the things you're working on now, I want to go to a little bit of the backstory. I mean, Sandra, as a young woman, a young lady, a young girl, I don't know what age you woke up and said, I want to be on Broadway. But I have some good friends who are in the theater, and there's usually a little bit of a struggle there. How did that all come about?
Yes. Well, thank you for asking. I'm very impressed with you for your hour-long run through the redwoods. I need to take a page from your book when it comes to that. But back to the beginning for me, I don't think I ever woke up and said I want to be on Broadway, but I did have a moment when I was 8 years old. It was on a family trip to see the musical Annie, and I was about the same age as the little girl up there playing the role. And as soon as I saw her on stage, that whole evening, it was like being struck by lightning. I actually wear a necklace with a little lightning bolt to remind me of what that feels like. And I'm sure many of us have experienced, maybe not a moment like that, but sometime when you just felt something come alive inside of you, and without even realizing it, I just felt I want to do that, whatever that is. I didn't have a name for it. It was love. I fell in love with that art form. No, but it was the last thing in the world I thought I would ever be able to do because I was terribly shy, introverted, insecure, hiding behind mom. I had a sparkly, outgoing sister. I was not that kind of kid who wanted to be in the spotlight at all. So it was a huge struggle.
Well, it's, that lightning and that touch moment, that moment of truth here, and seeing Annie, and I've seen Annie a lot of times too along the way, and I can see certainly being inspired by that at a young age, but so you at 8, you kind of go, Jesus, I want to be creative, I want to, be on stage, making a difference in an awful lot of people's life. Okay. So what happened next? Because I can still remember I did a play. I was Charlie Brown about that age, and my career didn't take off. So,
Well, you were braver than I was. I actually auditioned for a solo in my fifth grade Christmas concert. It was a couple of years after seeing Annie. Got up my courage to audition and do this 10-second little piece of the Christmas song, it's chestnuts roasting on a. I was supposed to sing a little piece of it. And right before the concert, we were lined up outside of the gym, and I happened to look inside, and the minute I saw the crowd, I started to turn red and started to get tears in my eye. I ran over to my music teacher, Mrs. Maters, and I said, I'm so sorry, but I can't do it. And she said, okay. She was very sweet to me, and she got someone else at the last minute. So I stood back there on the risers with the chorus, with the rest of my class, and when that moment came for that solo, I watched this brave other kid from my class. It was a boy, and he went down there and sang that solo. And that was really a pivotal moment for me, because I felt such regret and such shame and embarrassment. The same feelings I was trying to avoid by staying hidden, I was feeling those feelings anyway, but without the possible benefit, the payoff of putting my voice out there and maybe being successful. I was so afraid of failure and humiliation that I stayed silent and hidden in the crowd. And I look at a snapshot of that moment in my life, and I realize that could be the story of everyone's life if they're not willing to take the risk and put your voice out there, whatever that means for you. It may not be on stage, but at some point, we all have to take a risk, the risk of failure. So eventually, over many years, with a lot of voice lessons and singing in my basement and behind closed doors, I started to overcome that fear with a lot of training and excellent coaches. And that's something that I still practice today. I still take voice lessons. I still train and study with the best coaches I can find in business and as a performer.
well, let's just stop for a second, because I think there's two big lessons for all of us as entrepreneurs, Sandra, that you're sharing. I mean, the first thing is that everyone on this is already successful as an entrepreneur, and you're thinking, well, geez, there's no fear. I got to tell you, there's plenty of fear. And entrepreneurs want to mitigate risk. We don't embrace risk. A lot of people make that mistake. We want to mitigate risk. We want to play the game, believing it's in our favor. And so I mean, in today's world, particularly, if we're going to make a difference, we have to raise the awareness. There's two things we have to do well. One, we have to delight our clients. We have to deliver a great client experience. And second, we have to have more people to raise their hand to explore working with us. Well, in today's world, getting more people aware of you, I'm going to assume that you're delivering a great experience, everybody that's watching this or listening to on our podcast. But the ability to differentiate yourself and get out there means that you have to communicate. You got to use the social media, you got to use video, you got to use all these things. And I got to tell you, Sandra, I didn't start using it until about 4 years ago, and I cut the first video. And I was glad that it was never posted on the internet, because I guess nothing dies on the internet. So I want to go first thing, and this is a real important part for all of us, is just that journey. And I want to go a little bit more on the progression there, because it's, you overcame that initial fear after the first, failure. And boy, it's, I think Thomas Edison said I forgot the number, but it's like 10,000 times he failed on the light bulb. He didn't fail. He proved those were the wrong ones. And he finally got the one that really worked. And, this is what we want to do. And the second part, and I see this in everyone that I know in theater, as well as everyone that I know in business, they go out and get the best to work with. And it's just, life's too short. It's too competitive in today's world. You want to have somebody that's walked the walk before you, that knows how to, really help you excel with whatever talents that you have to do that. So, I mean, this is a story not of only theater. This is entrepreneurs. This is life.
Yes. And what you're doing with this podcast series and so many of the things that you do is letting us hear other people's stories of failure and struggle and disappointment, and for certainly in my field, rejection after rejection. But we do have to continue to stay motivated and to learn to walk ourselves through that fear and mitigate risk, but continue to walk toward it and move through it so that eventually we can break through. And so many of your listeners know exactly what that is. You fail, you fail, you fail, and then you find something that works and you build on that. And yes, working with the best coaches and learning from other people who have walked the path before you, it's everything. I mean, for me, once I eventually moved to New York, which was in itself an enormous risk, 88% of people in theater who are members of the Actors Equity Association, these are professionals. You have to work at a high level to be able to join the union. But at any given time, 88% of union members are unemployed. And those of us who are working, I just heard this statistic the other day. The average income is $7,500 a year for theater actors. So most people, we certainly don't go into this for fame and fortune and money. We go into it because we're passionate about it and we can't help it. We love it. So if you're going to go into something like that, you're laying all your cards on the table. And it is an enormous risk. And your chances of success are very minimal. But you keep following what you love. And when I first moved to New York, I found coaches that were teaching people on Broadway at a high level. And at one point, I couldn't really afford to eat. I had a bagel in the morning and a plain slice of pizza at night. That was my daily diet.
No cream cheese on the bagel, or
no schmear. I could not afford the luxuries of the pepperoni or the schmear.
Yeah.
But I did take, I will confess, cash advances from my credit cards at one point to be able to study with the coaches that I knew could help me achieve the level that I wanted to get to. And it paid off. Working with those coaches transformed my career.
No, so let's go a little further on that, Sandra. I mean, because you have the talent. The coaches are helping you bring that out and really prepare you to be very successful in theater. Now, I do know, we've had the chance to talk a few times before, and you didn't start out in New York. You were in Detroit, and young lady in Detroit moving to New York. And even with all this training, my guess is you didn't show up one day and do the audition. You were the only one there and they chose you. I'm guessing, what little I know of theater. And this is a lot like, and the reason why I'm bringing this up as entrepreneurs, there's hundreds of thousands and millions really of entrepreneurs, and we're all out there, and we've got to get prepared. We've got to differentiate ourselves. We've got to show up and make a difference. And we're going to get plenty of rejection too. But how did you overcome all this to get, my guess is there were a few other women that were behind you that were more than happy to take over the role at any time.
Well, women before me, behind me, next to me, all around me, who wanted that part and were up for that part at the same time that I was. And, everybody knows the Phantom of the Opera. And the role of Christine is this iconic role for a soprano that a lot of people were auditioning for and still are to this day. It's still running after 26 years on Broadway. By the way, it's also the most lucrative entertainment enterprise of all time. Phantom has outgrossed even the best, even the most successful film of all time, which at the moment is Avatar. Phantom has outgrossed even that in worldwide box office sales. It's just this incredibly iconic show. So even the chance to audition was a big deal. I was thrilled to be able to go backstage. All of a sudden, this kid from Detroit, shy, scared, I'm standing on that Broadway stage. I would have paid them just to let me walk around back there. see the set and the costumes up close. But there I am on the stage in front of Hal Prince, this famous director who's like the Steven Spielberg of Broadway. And there's that famous giant chandelier up above me. Well, the scared little girl from the 5th grade who couldn't sing a solo still lives in my body to this day. And sometimes she shows up when it's not at all convenient. So that first audition, I was so intimidated and so nervous, and I wanted it so badly that I kind of choked. I got in my own way. I was frozen. I couldn't move. I was like a singing head with no body. I was numb from the neck down. So I did not land the leading role after that first audition, and I was crushed. But I had a couple things in my favor. Number one, I was the right physical type. You got to fit the costumes. Mm-hmm. And I was the right type. I had the right type of voice, and they saw something in me that had potential. So they put me in the chorus on the national tour. So off I went I was suddenly a part of the show. I was a working performer. I was thrilled. And my role, actually, for people who've seen the show, there's a moment when a mannequin bursts through a broken mirror and scares Christine, and Christine faints. So the mannequin was my role. I got to play a dummy for an entire year. After studying with the best coaches, I was cast as the dummy. Not quite what I had in mind, but nonetheless, I was very thankful to be a part of the show.
No, that's great. And you know what I mean? This is out of failure becomes success, but it's not always quite the level that, we wanted and so on. And this is so important as entrepreneurs that I've got so many friends and peers who have just broken through, and people think of them as overnight success, and they're anything but overnight success. I mean, it was that 25-year period up until that moment, and then there was that success. But so you did the national tour, you played the dummy, I didn't know that, and what happened after that year?
After that year, Christine, the leading lady, was leaving our show to do another show. So they flew me back to New York to audition for the second time. So there I am again on the stage under the chandelier. Decided, no way am I going to freeze this time. I'm going to show them that I can be in my body and I can move. So the second audition, I went in there with pre-planned movements and choreography and dramatic steps and gestures. And I don't know if you've ever experienced that thing where you're in the middle of something and you just know it's not working.
It's not a good feeling, Sandra.
Oh.
And yes, I have had that feeling.
Oh, the egg on your face feeling, and the flop sweat starts, and so when I finished that audition, the assistant director pulled me aside and said, "What was that?" And I really couldn't believe I blew it the second time. That, here I'd had my scary moments. I'd gotten it over with. I should have been prepared by then. And once again, I just wanted it so desperately that I showed my desperation. I came across as phony and trying too hard. So I blew it again. But that was a huge lesson for me, because at that point I really thought, well, that's it. It's over. I'm never going to play this part. I've proven to them that I'm not capable of it, that I'm a failure. So I had to hang it up and go back to the chorus, being the dummy. And I really thought, I've hit the glass ceiling now, and this is as far as I will ever get. And I really had to grieve it. I was really disappointed in myself, beat myself up, hating myself for screwing up like that. And my dad was always the one that was there for me throughout this whole journey. From the night that I saw Annie and confessed in the back seat of the car that I wanted to do that with my life, he always said, keep believing in yourself. I believe in you. Anything's possible. He was just always there for me. And oh, I get emotional when I talk about it. But at that time, when I was so down on myself, I talked to my dad on the phone. He was back in Detroit, and he said, you need to shift your perspective on this and realize how far you've come and how much you have to be thankful for. You know, you could be back in New York eating a plain bagel and slice of pizza. You know, you're a working actress.
You are and you are. There are very few people. You know, you gave some of the statistics earlier on the, you know, the equity. I forget what it's called. Equity Union Association. And there's just so few that are having success. You're having success, and this is. I mean, a good friend of mine, Dan Sullivan, strategic coach. He has this whole concept that talks about, you know, you're here and ideal is way up here. Yes. And then what we do is, you know, we achieve the actual, and we get so frustrated the difference between the actual and the ideal. And he calls that minding the gap that we get, you know, as entrepreneurs, as actors, actresses, you know, no matter what you are in life, you do that. And what we don't do is we don't really reflect on the progress we've made, you know, from that 8-year-old to, you know, where you are now. And it really gives us an opportunity to regroup. And it doesn't mean that we have to stop there. It doesn't have to be a ceiling, but it's like, let's celebrate kind of where we are and then, you know, see where we want to go type thing.
Exactly. And one thing that I hope that everyone listening will do today is to have a moment to reflect and think about how far you've come. Yes, I'm sure we all still have another level that we're looking to achieve or things we want to do with our lives, but it's such a gift when someone like my dad did for me gives you that perspective on where you have come from. And how much there is right here, right now to be thankful for.
Well, and then the other thing I want to do for fellow entrepreneurs too is something that's so important, Sandra, that out of that lesson is you should never worry alone. I mean, no matter who you are, you know, you're the most powerful entrepreneur in the world, you've got to have someone else that's there with you. You never go to a problem alone. You need people to trust it. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we created this AESNation.com, is to have this virtual mastermind. And this is a lot of value here, but you want to have somebody that's there with you. You know, you have that emotional connection. Let me go, I want to play a little animation here real quick. So what was the big breakthrough? I mean, you know, okay, you're playing a dummy, and I know I'm reading all the press releases. I mean, I just got to hold up for a second. You know, I've got all these quotes here. Oprah Winfrey, some of you know, one of the Broadway's biggest stars and inspiration. Other quotes, I have had the opportunity to learn from Sandra, don't hesitate to give yourself this rare gift. Sandra's message, you know, uplifting will guide you. I mean, I got to print out more and more of this, Sandra. So what was the big breakthrough that happened?
The first one was after that phone call with my dad. I sat down with my journal and started writing all the things I had to be thankful for. And the practice of gratitude shifted my perspective on my life, really. And this is something that I still practice to this day, every day, looking at and really being present to what it is that I have to be thankful for in this moment, no matter what's going on. And also realizing that when we want something with desperation, it's very difficult to show up and really be present and be in the moment. I was carrying this weight of needing to get this job into those auditions with me, and it caused me to come outside of myself. So what ended up happening was I wrote a thank you letter to that assistant director. I let go of it. I wrote all my gratitudes, and I really felt myself release it. No sooner did I do that than I got a phone call from my agent saying they still have not found a Christine and they want to bring you back one more time and give you one more chance. So that third audition, I walked in there and I really had surrendered my attachment to getting the role. And I said, okay, my only goal is to be myself, to be present, to be in my heart, and to sing that song as honestly as I possibly can. So my goal was just to be authentic and present. And I showed up on that stage, and of course I was still nervous. Of course I still wanted to get the role, but I wasn't bringing that clinging energy into it. So I just said, I'm just here to show up and be me and give my heart and soul to this role in this moment. And because I didn't carry all of that angst in there with me, I was much more real. And that's what every client, audience member, director, customer is looking for. They want authenticity. There are a lot of girls who could fit in the costume and a lot of girls who can sing those songs. What they're looking for always is, do I connect with this person? Do I see a real human being in there? Even when you're playing, ironically, even when you're acting, when you're playing a character, we're always looking for the ring of truth in people that we want to work with. It's that know, like, and trust factor. It's no different on stage in a performance as it is interacting with clients, or when you're going to hire someone for a job. You want to work with people that you feel are authentic and real. And that was the critical key to my success, was bringing more of who I am into that space.
Well, and I mean, and that, there's so much in that you said, Sandra. I mean, it's so many lessons learned. Being present, being authentic, recognizing that's what makes people, for marketing, I love this know, like, and trust. And that's, if we're going to have more people explore working with us, that's what we need to do. And as entrepreneurs, yes, we're not actors. We are, but we're on stage. We're communicating. We have to connect with people. And it's not, I'm a financial guy. It's not numbers that gets everybody excited. It's that authentic, the story, giving of yourself. And, Sandra, and this resulted in how many performances did you end up doing on Broadway?
Well over 1,000.
Yeah,
I think it was somewhere 1,300, somewhere in there. A lot.
10 years, and just that moment, being authentic, being present, all the years of preparation. I don't want to take anything away from that, but it's that moment that you were there to do justice to what you're doing, but not I always think of it as we're going to do the best that we're able to do, and whatever happens happens. I mean, that's all we can do. We can't control other people. We can control ourselves. And as entrepreneurs, I mean, if you're the best you can be, you're going to win most of the time in life.
That's it.
Sandra, let me do a little transition here, because this is great. I want to go to, what are you passionate about now? I mean, you as someone who's achieved just a remarkable level of success. I mean, just huge, and so many people loved your performance. You were a star on Broadway for an awful long time, where it's hard to do that, and at the same time, now you're really broken away, and you're going to be, and you are an entrepreneur. Matter of fact, I just engage you to come. I've got an event next week with a few 200 of the top financial advisors in the world, and I've asked Sandra to come and share not only your story, but also really interact with them to help them to understand how to create these connections, so that they, because we're more left brain, like most entrepreneurs are too, how can we do those connections? But tell me what you're passionate about now.
Thank you for asking that. A year after I left Phantom, my beloved father died suddenly from a heart attack. And experiences like that really shake you and shift your perception of your life again. And I never really thought of myself as an entrepreneur. I still that's to me that's such a loaded term. I have such respect for entrepreneurs. I have found myself being invited to speak, which has been such a gift. And after my father passed, I wanted nothing more than to follow the path that has heart and meaning for the rest of my journey. I think many of us, when we've had a big career success, a dream come true for me beyond anything I could have imagined for my life, it's no longer about climbing any ladders. For me, it's about connecting from my heart as often, as thoroughly as I can, and living really from that place of emotional connection and authentic presence. So that's really what I'm passionate about now. And the way that has manifested in a career space has been really fascinating and mind-blowing for me. I did start to have inklings in the latter years of being on Broadway. I recognized that my aliveness was no longer there, that I was feeling pulled toward something else. And I had no idea what that something else might be. And I went to hear a speaker named Carolyn Mace. She's a wonderful author and spiritual teacher. And she talked about when we get a download from the universe. And I was like, I am not getting any downloads. I have been asking and praying and meditating and really trying to figure it out, and nothing is coming. But something magical happened the night after I heard her speak. I had, I guess, what would be called a download, a waking dream, a vision, an image of myself on stage, but not wearing a costume or a wig, not playing a character, just being me. And that had never occurred to me before. I didn't even know being a speaker was a thing that someone could be. And one thing led to another, and I started just meeting people. And through conversations and relationships, I started talking about feeling like I wanted to share and inspire other people to go after their dreams. And I started getting invitations. And then the really crazy thing happened is that entrepreneurs started inviting me. People in financial services started to see a connect. They saw the connections long before I did of my journey and the entrepreneur journey. But there are so many parallels that I didn't even realize before. But then I've come to recognize books like The Experience Economy. I don't know if you're familiar with that one. Why Work is Theater, and how and that, yes, what every business person needs is a way to be in their authentic presence, to bring more of who they are, to differentiate themselves. It's the same thing I had to learn in my audition process. That's what makes people in business successful as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of research. I think it was Joseph Pine that wrote that book. And,
Yes.
Yeah, and it's a great book. It was written a while ago, and I mean, I remember first reading it, and this is, all of life is a stage. I know somebody said that before
right.
I did.
Shakespeare.
Yeah, a few years ago. Yeah, but and this is something for all of us to think about, because we are, as entrepreneurs, many of us are really in the entertainment industry, to engage people, and we need to take from all these disciplines, really, and I really appreciate you being passionate. I mean, one of the reasons why I was listening podcast and I contacted you immediately right after was I thought, geez, she's going to resonate so well with the entrepreneurs I have the privilege of working with and these top financial advisors, because this is what we're all trying to do, is blend that left and right brain, bring the creativeness in to our industries, because so many things are being commoditized now, and it's the story, it's that authentic, being authentic and sharing that. Let me, I'm going to go one, I want to get a whole bunch of things, and we're going to run out of time, so I'm going to dive into a couple others real quick. Sandra, we have this segment, the app of the day, and is there, you're doing a little bit of travel. I know you're coming out to San Francisco next week to visit me and a few of my friends. What do you keep on your smartphone?
Oh, that's a great question. I do a lot of traveling. My husband actually, I should mention this. When I was cast in Phantom, I actually fell in love with the guy behind the mask, and I married the Phantom in real life.
So
My
I
husband is
would say that
also,
was a very successful career for both of you then.
yes, it worked out. So he is now traveling with the national tour of the Book of Mormon, which I think is
Mhm.
playing San Francisco
It is.
next year.
Yeah.
But so I spend a lot of time on airplanes, and I'm speaking all over, doing a lot of client appreciation events and concerts. And one of the things that helps me stay grounded, and like I was talking about earlier, grateful and present. Those are two practices for me that I really try to stay engaged with. And there's an app that I keep on my phone called Intention Reminder. And it allows you to choose a beautiful background and to type in whatever little message you think you need for that day. Or if you have something coming up that's important and you need to stay grounded. I use it as a way to you can set in a little alarm. So the alarm goes off and I see this beautiful image that I've chosen and whatever words I've put there that I want to stay connected to throughout that day. So it's just a way to remind yourself to be grateful, to be present, to be yourself, to take a risk, whatever it is. It's a way of supporting myself through this journey of really continuing to take risks. I don't think that ever ends, but the Intention Reminder app is something that really just helps me to stay grounded and come back to center.
No, great. Now, so let me go to the next one. And this is the book of the day, and I'm not going to let you get off too easy because I know you've done an audiobook, so I'm going to put that up on the screen here. Tell us what you did here and how how that relates to what you're doing now.
Oh, thank you for that. Well, actually, Carolyn Mace, that speaker and author and teacher that I mentioned earlier, I had the opportunity of meeting her 10 years after I heard her speak and got that download about becoming a speaker myself. And Carolyn invited me to co-author an audiobook with her. And it's called Your Creative Soul, Expressing Your Authentic Voice. And it's really about all of the things that we've been talking about, how to stay authentic and bring what is yours forward, bring that unique essence of you out into your life, in your business, in your creative expression. It's really about staying connected to your aliveness. And we both speak on the program, and I also sing 5 songs. And on my website, there are actually you can download 2 of the songs for free. And I created a little workbook to go along with it. It's a 4 CD program. But if you want the soundbite version of what's on it, you can go to my website and download a workbook.
And let me pull up, Sandra, you've got a beautiful site here, and it's flashing between presentations you're doing and performances you're doing. And it's for those of you who are not on the video podcast, it's sandrajoseph.com. And remember, you can always go to aesnation.com to get the transcription of this, all the show notes and the links and so on. But some tremendous resources there.
Thank you.
Well, let me go the last section here, and this is key takeaways. And Sandra, I mean, this has been really great. There's so many things, but as entrepreneurs, I'm going to focus on a few. One, left brain versus right brain. We're so many of us so into business, and particularly if we come up on the financial side, that we sometimes lose track of that ability to connect with people. And you need to really work on that. And our research in the financial side is that before somebody works, a successful individual works with a top financial advisor, 84% want to connect emotionally first, and then justify that decision with logic. So many of us as entrepreneurs just focus on logic. We want to persuade people, and it's that creating that emotional connection. Second thing that I really want to support is the gratitude. I start my day every day by journaling 3 gratitudes, and it's so powerful. I mean, we're so privileged, we're so blessed, the lives that we're leading. Really, just about everybody, if not 100% that are listening to this, and I'd go back to also that mind the gap. Don't get caught up that you're not the ideal of what it is. No one is, but you've made so much progress every day. What are those simple pleasures that you should be celebrating? And lastly, I want to go is that be present. It's so, we bring so much baggage in life, the weight of the different aspirations, the things, around us and all that. But being present in that moment, giving of yourself, what a difference it makes. And Sandra, I mean, you've lived, a life of doing all that. You're here to inspire us, which I really appreciate. And, thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you so much, John. It's been a privilege to be here with you and to speak to the incredible listeners that you have. If I could just share one last thing. People often wonder how you keep it fresh every night when you're performing 1,000 performances, the same songs, saying the same words, and how do you go out there and give your best night after night? And it comes back to what we've been talking about, that emotional connection. Really, when I was feeling exhausted and like I didn't have any more to give, a friend of mine gave me this incredible gift. He scoured the internet and found quotes that people had written on different forums and different posts about how seeing Phantom impacted them, how it made them feel, how it changed their life in some way. And I would keep those slips of paper in my dressing room and pull one out before I would go on stage. And I would think about that one person who was seeing the show for the first time and how they might have saved up their money and brought their children or their spouse. And this was a special, special night for them. And because we all are connected at the heart level, even the most successful, wealthy clients and entrepreneurs, really, it's about the heart. It's about what the money can do for us. And I would think about the love that my dad showed to me, the blessings in my life, and how I wanted to pour all that was given to me into that expression that night in that moment for that audience member, in case, any day could be our last. And I want to show up and give as much as I possibly can out of compassion and love, really. So when people are struggling and wondering how to continue to give their all, I always try to remind them just to bring it back to that one person and think about what you would want to share if this was your last day.
And so many entrepreneurs do get those emails and letters thanking them for the difference in lives they've made, no matter whether they're selling widgets or professional services. And I think that's a great way to end this. Let's go out and take Sandra's advice. And many of us have well over 1,000 performances. We're performing every day of our lives as entrepreneurs, and we're making a difference. We're making a dent in the universe, as Steve Jobs talked about, and those individual lives that we're touching. Let's make a difference. For our current clients, our future clients, they're all counting on you. Wish you the best of success.